given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they want to do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shit.
How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Great topic, guys. When we were out in Nebraska, we realized that there's a big concern when it comes to people right now that have to step up and take that leadership position because we are understaffed. And there are a lot of people here that don't feel that they're ready, but now they're stuck in this impossible situation because even with 2 years, they could be the most senior person on the job. Now, these people, they're nervous about taking the role, but they have to take the role, and they're motivated to do so. So I thought we could give some advice for people who find themselves in that position. You only have a couple years in, but you're being forced into that leadership position. I think it's going to be a great topic and something that we enjoyed discussing when we were out in Nebraska. Now, guys, real quick, I have 3 sponsors for this video. The first sponsor is Guardian RFID. This video is brought to you by Guardian RFID. From inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence, Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit GuardianRFID.com for more information. And we also have the WRAP, controlling combative subjects quickly and in an upright position so they can breathe, has never been more important. Departments such as Washington, DOC, LA County, San Diego County, and hundreds of other facilities across the U.S. trust and believe in the WRAP restraint. That's WRAP, W-R-A-P. Go to SafeRestraints, with an S.com for contact information and mention Tier Talk to receive instructor training at no cost. Lower liability for your facility and your personnel with the WRAP. Give the WRAP a call today, 1-800-WRAP, that's W-R-A-P 911. If you guys don't know what the WRAP is, there'll be a link in the description. Hit it, and it'll show you exactly what the WRAP is. So my guest today is going to be Russ. What's up, Russ?
Hey there, Anthony. Glad to be here. You're right. You know, the other day when we were doing the stuff out there and people were talking about, you know, having very little experience and yet being the most senior person on the shift. And I can imagine that that's a scary position to be in.
And it is a growing concern, obviously, especially because if understaffing is a growing concern, then obviously part of that is going to be if you got senior staff leaving, then newer staff has to step up. So you're talking about people with 2 years in, 1 to 2 years in, automatically taking that senior position and now having to train rookies. Now, Russ, do you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Oh, not at all, Anthony. My name's Riss Hamilton. I started my career way back in 1989 at San Quentin State Prison. I went on from there to promote to sergeant, and then I retired, came back out of retirement for a couple of years, did just the officer thing again. Then I got a job with a juvenile detention facility here in California, a brand new facility. And then after that, I retired yet once again. And now I work for a private company, and we do things with regards to reentry and rehabilitation with former inmates that are on probation.
Yeah, Russ is now crossed into the rehabilitation side, which is great because that gives us a better understanding of corrections. Again, just kind of the bigger picture. Now, guys, so we were at Nebraska. We did a conference. And, guys, by the way, we were invited to go back in April. We also had the IACTP conference, which is done virtually. If you guys get a chance, please check it out. It's going to be, we're going to be up October 12th. And then we also will possibly have MASCA next year in Atlantic City and another conference coming in Maine. I love the conferences that we do because it's panel discussions and we answer the questions that are coming our way from the audience. But this was one of the questions that came our way that I knew the panel wanted to attack, but I also wanted to kind of dedicate a video to it. Now, guys, the video of our panel discussion will be up shortly. I'll be getting the video soon, and I'll post it up. So real quick, Russ, I think what makes this a big concern is, first off, anybody that's concerned about grabbing that leadership position or that supervisory position when you only have a couple years in and you feel that your experience is limited. Believe it or not, guys, that's a good thing that you realize that. You know, I mean, some people may just think that they're ready and jump right in and, you know, wind up realizing that they weren't ready. So for that person that asked the question, to have the insight knowing that, hey, man, I only have a couple years in, I don't know if I'm ready for this. The funny thing is, I actually think that's a great start if you're being forced into this position. What's your thoughts about that, Russ? I mean, do you think that's very insightful to have right at the very beginning?
Yeah, I think that I would like for everyone to feel, a little bit of unease about being ready, no matter how many years they have in. But when you're at that point where you do only have a couple of years, there really is a gap in your knowledge base there. So what I would say is this, those people that are looking to try and plug those gaps up, both from the personal perspective of you stepping in to fill that, and from the leadership perspective, hopefully the people in your chain of command are going to see that they need to fill those knowledge gaps, and that they can get in there and get you some training, maybe get you a mentor and try and, bring you along in a quicker manner.
Yeah. And when we answer this question for the gentleman that asked that, I want people to know that when you become supervisor, a lot of people think, or become that leadership position, the opportunity to lead, a lot of people think it's about the destination. Guys, it's a continued journey. So when you cross into that next level, it doesn't mean you have to know everything, or it doesn't mean that you stop learning. It actually means that you continue to learn. So when people say, you know what, Gangi, I'm not ready, or I don't feel ready because I don't feel that I know enough, but you're being forced to step into this role. Hey, guys, we can always learn. That's the key. I mean, sometimes, guys, putting you in that position is really about your potential. I want people to realize that. It's because there's potential in you, and that we're hoping that you can reach that potential. But that doesn't mean that you're going to know everything at that moment. I mean, and you know what's funny too, Russ? Let's say we did have a properly staffed facility, and there was that person that's waiting for the right moment to become a supervisor, and it turns out that it's never going to be the right moment. The stars are never going to perfectly align. I mean, you can keep on saying, well, I'm not ready, but eventually that becomes an excuse. In the end, guys, sometimes you have to jump in it and become ready. And for the people that are being thrust into it, now mind you, guys, you're being thrust into it because the facility's understaffed, and even with those few years in, you happen to be that senior staff with the most experience compared to everybody else coming in. Guys, it's about the potential. Where can we go? Can we grow together? So Russ, wouldn't you think that? I think the biggest concerns are, again, we have people that are being thrust into this leadership position. Their biggest concern is, well, you know what? I don't know enough to do this. But having said that, Russ, we also have potential, and the fact that, guys, you see this as a destination, but in the end, this is about growth. What's your thoughts, Russ?
Well, yeah, I think the really big thing is when you're put into that role, when there's no choice, maybe all of the other choices that they've got just aren't as good as you, but you're still green, you're still raw, you're still, truly not ready. At least acknowledging that fact gets you to the point where you can start identifying those resources that you need to tap. You should already have some idea about who the people are with that marvelous talent downstream from you that are going to help you out. Those people, regardless of the fact that they're lower on the food chain than you, know more than you. And I would be willing to say that most of them are willing to step in and help you and train you up, from the bottom going up. And so that's something that you've got to keep, in the back of your head, and always be trying to learn from those people. And then secondly, you got to be thinking about those that are up the chain from you and try and bring those people into a position where they're trying to help you, sending you to training, mentoring you, talking with you. And then last but not least, I want to mention this is, being able to get in there and tap that resource of this social media program. Look what I've done with Keepers of Chaos, right? It's there. It's at your disposal. You can get so many different ideas, background stories, history, content. And that's something that we never had when I was coming up.
Yeah, I want to actually, you kind of touched on something. So let me do this. Let's get to that. Then we'll go back to where I wanted to go, but I don't want to forget this thought, Russ. Spot on. So listen, when you step into this leadership position, again, because it's being thrust upon you, you have to know that you're stepping into this position humble. You know, the fact is you're not going to know everything, but also you're not expected to know everything. So this should motivate you to really continue to learn about the position, but more importantly, learn about the people that you're supervising. Try to get a connection with them based on the values and beliefs that you guys share that will connect you as you move through in this leadership position. Guys, the funny thing is, guys, sometimes this is a great test too, because for those facilities that are properly staffed, those facilities that have corporals, I kind of see corporals as a leadership testing position, because if the people see you good in that light, let's say as a corporal, then maybe when you cross into that next rank of a sergeant where you do have that, you know, that higher level of authority, the people have already accepted you into that position. So sometimes leaders, you know, can really lead amongst their peers and be accepted amongst their peers. And then again, when they move up, it just becomes official. That's all. I mean, there's a lot of people that never make rank that are still what we call leaders. Maybe unofficially because it's not recognized by the agency, but definitely something that we recognize as peers. So one of the things I want to say is, you know, again, take the position humbly. You know you have to grow. So like Russ said, look at the resources. Keepers of Chaos, Tier Talk, books that are out there. Talk to your staff. The moment you hop into that position, because it's thrust upon you, take every second to learn. And I will tell you this, guys, if you really do care about being ready for the position, the learning doesn't stop, unfortunately, when you're at work. The learning continues even outside of those 8 to 12 to 16 hours. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, you know, this job, really, a lot of it is just about preparation. And that preparation is just, you know, slowly, continuously honing yourself to be the sharpest instrument in the drawer that you can be. And, you know, you want to be able to help those below you. You want to make those above you shine. And then with all of those other things, the only way to put you in that ready position to be at that sharpened edge is to avail yourself of those resources and to really, you know, learn as much as you can, and to put yourself also into positions where you're forced to learn it. You know, I've seen supervisors and officers and every other thing that just sit back and they wait for other people to do it. Well, you're never going to learn it just by watching what they do. Sometimes you have to get in there, and the blood and sweat and all of that other stuff that you have to exert has to be your own. It can't belong to someone else.
Right. And guys, when you come in, the new boots, because you have more experience than them, they may already see you in a type of higher level position. You know, because again, they're new. You may have a few years in, but again, you still have a few years in. I mean, I remember, you know, when I was new, I looked at the SEOs with a little bit of a higher level of respect, even if they only had 1 year in, because they had that SEO title. So you may feel that, okay, well, I only have 2 years in. That's all the experience I got. But these people have not even a day in. Right? Would you agree with that, Russ? That's a good perspective to have as well, correct? I mean, I only have 2 years in, but they have no time in.
Yeah, you have to build on what you have. And, you know, you can't magically change that in any other way, the amount of time. What you can do is you can change your amount of readiness. You know, I've seen people that, you know, were just fine, you know, becoming a sergeant with just 3 or 4 years in, and others that were never going to make it. So, you know, just, you know, be the one to grab the bull by the horns and to, you know, wrestle with what you're doing. And, you know, you're going to make mistakes, but as long as you're out there and you're engaged in the process, you know, be that man in the arena who, you know, actually, you know, manages to wrangle something out of what's going on there and become the best leader that you can be.
Yeah, and guys, right off the bat, your focus should be on fostering that connection with the people that you're going to supervise, because they have to also see you as a leader. So one thing is, if you don't see yourself in that position, even though it's been thrust upon you, and you don't have confidence in yourself, you can't expect them to have any confidence. So how do you get confidence? By building knowledge, yes, but also talking to your people, getting to know them, and giving them what you expect. And in return, they're going to give you what they expect. It's a two-way street. But you know what's funny, Russ? I did the same thing, and I had 8 or 9 years in when I became a supervisor. You know, I went into a different facility, strange land. I had a good foundation from the prior facility, but I still went into a facility that was totally unique, unique in its operations, unique in the fact that I never worked with men before. This was the first time I was working with men. So I was crossing to something new that I felt, you know what, am I ready for this? But the first thing I did was to get to know the people I'll be supervising, to build that trust so they want me to succeed. But in the end, that connection with the people, I think, is what's going to establish you in their eyes as a leader, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, they're going to look at a lot of different things. They're going to also look at you and see whether or not you're coming to them. If you're asking for their input, if you're asking them the questions, and if you're expecting something from them to help you, there's no one out there worth their salt that is going to look down on that. As a matter of fact, it's going to be just the opposite. They're going to come back and they're going to appreciate the fact that their input is not just asked for, but needed and used. And so, you know, when you find those resources, those people that really do know what they're doing, man, count on them and get in there and absolutely communicate with them every chance you get.
Yeah, and guys, I figured the hardest part for the gentleman, because I did get a chance to talk to him at one of the hospitality nights, is he feels he's adjusting to the role. You know, the funny thing is, guys, is I've always treated this as a career coming in, and I always strive to be my best, which means that, you know, I felt, believe it or not, amongst my peers, that I was always a leader, even if they may not have seen me as one, especially at the beginning. I still had the confidence in myself, which helped me become one, and then eventually they saw it. You know, but if you don't believe it again, and you don't adjust to the role, then they're never going to see it. You know, that's the thing. But the one good thing about it here is that, as we said before, you have new boots. You know, so when you have more time in, you don't realize what 2 years of being in this profession can look like to someone who only has 1 or 2 days. So again, it's a very tough transition. I get it. It's thrust upon you, but you got to take it as an opportunity to continue the journey and not an actual destination. I think you're putting a lot of weight on yourself because you figure that once you're given it, you're expected to be at this point. And I disagree with that. I think that it's a continuation of learning, because look at Russ, you became a supervisor with how many years in, real quick?
I had a lot of years in. I was right at 17.
Right. So Russ, and I want this for the people that are out there right now that are, you know, having this thrust upon them. Russ, if even with 17 years in, when you became a sergeant, if you walked in after 17 years, becoming that sergeant, thinking that you knew everything, would you have made it as a sergeant?
No, that was never the way that I approached things. You know, I felt like I had a really good foundation when I walked in there because of all of the different positions I'd been in. I'd been the disciplinary officer, I'd been the unit officer, and you know, a lot of other things. But you know what? I always know that there's someone that knows something about some little thing, maybe even just better than I do. And I also know that the people out there running my yard have a better idea of what's going on it than I do. So, you know, I don't want to, you know, pass myself off in front of them as, you know, super sergeant or something like that. I want them to feel like they have an investment in what they're doing, and that I'm the one to help them get there and make everything a safer place.
Right. And I want to add something before we come to a close, guys, is one of the big things I want to mention if you're thrusted into this position is really, we talked about resources, stuff like that, to continue learning, really know policy. That's one thing that you're going to have to develop, especially in that position. And you're going to have to invest some time in, because you're going to have to be the one that answers those questions when it comes to policy. And we want to make sure that you're teaching policy and not practice. Me and Russ have had this discussion a long time ago, multiple times actually, where, again, we have a lot of practices that senior officers may do, but that doesn't mean that we as new boots should be doing it. So right off the bat, if you're given that position, you want to read the policies over those areas, because those people are going to expect you to know that when they ask those questions. If anything, guys, you can learn the policies together and develop together. The big thing here, guys, as I said, it's continued growth. If you as a leader continue to grow, then so does the team. Growing together is key. But Russ, you would also agree, right? Investing time in policy will also help give that knowledge to be consistent.
Yeah, that's just part of the natural flow of being well-rounded. All of us are going to have some specific skills maybe that we're a little better at, but you know what? Overall, you have to develop each and every skill to a degree that you're proficient at it. So when it comes to policy, hopefully you're jumping in there, you're reading the policy, you're finding out what works, what doesn't work, and you're rewriting it, to be within the guidelines of whatever your department's, operations manual or whatever says. But constantly be testing that and asking, why is it written this way? How could we do better? And you'll be appreciated for that alone if you're in there trying to make things better for everyone, safer, etc.
Yeah. So, guys, the key here, guys, is if it's thrust upon you, it's about continued learning, being the best you can be, and how much time are you going to invest in being the best you can be? That's the key. And again, for the person that asked that question, I could already tell that you are going to invest in that time, because for a fact the consequences if you don't, especially if you're in that leadership position. So, Russ, I mean, it's tough right now, Russ. A lot of facilities are understaffed. So obviously this is a consequence of that. People that have to step up now and take those leadership positions. And again, I would love to see people with more experience, but if we don't have that and we're getting somebody that may only have 2 years in, it doesn't mean you can't develop. It doesn't mean you can't be cultivated. Some of it may be with the resources around you, but most of it is going to be how you motivate yourself and the reasons why you want to do it. So again, I want to be a good representative for the team. I want us to grow together. I want us to share the same values and beliefs. So therefore, there's a big motivation in yourself to grow, and that will help you find the resources you need that are now out there. In my opinion, Russ, with everything that's out there today, there's no reason why you can't become that leader. Would you agree, Russ?
Absolutely. And, if you want to be that leader, you can be that. You know what? Be that guy or gal, though, that's constantly on edge and never comfortable with the situations that you're in. Always look to do just a little bit more. And lastly, what I would say is this: be the person that gets out there and raises their hand, right? Put yourself forward, put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone and, grab everything you can by the horns, because that is what's really going to teach you what you need to know. Going out there and, commanding a search team or commanding a team that's going to go in and do a raid on a dorm, whatever it is, be the one to stand out there and feel, like you're, a little bit on edge, because this is something maybe a little bit out of your range, a little out of your skill set, but you'll hone yourself and you'll be able to, after a while, build that knowledge base, those skill sets, and really truly become, a leader and most of all, a good professional worker.
Yeah, allow yourself to grow into the position. Don't think that you have to be there the moment it's given. It just gives you the opportunity to grow into that position, and we teach you ways to, figure that out. Russ, you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
Just thanks for having me on, Anthony. I think that this is, really something that does need to be addressed. As I said earlier, I think that it needs to be addressed from both positions, though, from the position of the individual and from those above him that need to cultivate him and bring him along. And they need to look out for him or her and give him or her the tools, the training, everything else to make that person a success.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, obviously, yes, the key is also the support that's around you. But remember, you're being put into that position for the potential. So that means that you have to learn, you have to invest time. But having said that, someone recognized something in you that says that you can do this. So you have to now recognize it in yourself. And again, the relationship with your people, the resources, your personal investment, and what you need to learn. It's all there for you. I wish someone could say, hey, it could be done with 2 years experience. Guys, as Russ said, even with 17 years experience, even with my case, 8 or 9 years, you're still, when you enter that supervisory position, you're kind of still learning everything all over again, because again, it's really that relationship with the people. You have to be able to tend to them. They're the ones that are going to help you succeed. So in the end, good leaders recognize that. And I think the person that asked that question, that was the basis of that question, is I want to be a good leader for my people, but yet I feel I don't have enough time in. Yeah, but you're asking the right question. You're entering the position humbly. So at that point, I'm going to tell you something. Here's the key, guys. You're going to continue to grow. If you grow, the team grows. And next thing you know, you're solving issues, and it's just, you've taken on the leadership position. But it starts with getting that respect with the people, building that connection, continue learning, know your resources, and hopefully the higher, the people that put you in that position, like Russ said, gives you what you need, supports you when decisions have to be made. As always, guys, the show is taped. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.